The crash site cry. The sky was dark with smoke. Kai Ren stood on a broken cliff above the forest, eyes wide as he stared at the fire below. A ship, huge, alien, and burning, had fallen from the sky. He had seen it crash just minutes ago, the roar so loud it shook the ground. Now only flames and broken metal remained in the valley. He was not a soldier, just a scavenger, a mechanic, a man with old tools and a small hoverbike. But something in his gut told him he had to go down there. He climbed carefully, boots slipping on ash and stone. The air smelled like fire and melted steel. He reached the crash site and saw strange symbols on the hull, alien letters. The ship was not human. Maybe no survivors, he whispered, stepping over twisted metal. Then he heard it. A cry. Weak, choked, like someone trying to scream with no strength left. Kai froze. He listened. There it was again, a whimper coming from the other side of the wreck. He ran. Behind a bent piece of silver wall, he found her, an alien woman pinned under a beam. Her skin was a soft purple glowing faintly. Her long hair was silver and wet with blood. Her eyes were half open, full of pain and fear. She was pregnant. Her belly was large, glowing slightly. Something strange, an orb of glass and light, was pressed into her chest. She gasped as she saw him. "Huh, man?" she whispered. Kai knelt beside her. "Yes, you're alive. Don't move. I'll get this off you." She grabbed his arm. "No, too late. My body. Broken. I won't live." Kai shook his head. "Don't say that. I can—" "Listen." Her voice was shaking. "My baby. Inside the cradle." She touched the orb on her chest. "Not born yet. But she lives." Kai looked closer. The orb was not just a womb, it was a life pod built into her body. A strange alien tech. It glowed brighter as he leaned in. "She is my last hope. Last of my line," the woman said. They will come to finish her." "Who?" Kai asked, confused. "Killers. Hunters. She must live. You must save her." Kai swallowed hard. "But I'm not a soldier. I'm just—" "She chose you," the woman whispered, smiling a little. "The crystal responded to your touch. She knows you'll protect her." The alien mother's breath was fading. Kai touched the pod. It pulsed with warmth. Inside, something moved, a tiny hand, a baby. "I don't know how to care for her," he whispered. "You will learn. Please, promise me." Kai looked into the alien woman's glowing eyes. "I promise," he said. She smiled and closed her eyes forever. Silence fell. The fire crackled in the background. Kai sat beside her, stunned. He had just promised a dying alien mother that he would protect a child who wasn't even born yet. The pod in her chest gave a small hiss and then released itself, sliding into his hands. It was warm. Inside, he saw the small form of a baby curled inside, glowing gently. Then his radio crackled. Unknown energy detected. Coordinates locked. Moving in. Kai's heart jumped. Someone was coming. They had tracked the pod. He grabbed his pack, stuffed the pod in carefully, and ran. As he climbed out of the wreck, ships flew overhead. Sleek, silent, not human. He saw shadows in the smoke, tall figures with glowing visors. They moved like hunters. Kai didn't wait. He jumped onto his hoverbike and roared into the forest. The baby pod hummed against his chest, warm and quiet. Behind him, he heard weapons charging. The forest trees exploded in sparks as lasers missed him by inches. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know how to raise an alien baby, but he had made a promise. And now, he was being hunted. The forest raced past Kai Ren in a blur of green and shadow. His hoverbike buzzed low over the ground, weaving between trees as laser beams cut through branches behind him. His arms held tight to the front of his jacket where the alien pod, small, warm, and softly glowing, rested close to his chest. He didn't look back. He couldn't. Back at the crash site, the alien mother had died, but her last words still echoed in his ears. Please, ma, save my baby. And now the baby was his responsibility. He didn't know why the pod had bonded with him, or why the alien woman trusted him. He only knew this. The child inside that metal cradle was in danger, and the ones chasing him weren't here to ask questions. After an hour of silent flight, he reached an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the dead zone. The place was half buried in sand, forgotten by time. Kai shut off the bike and pushed the rusted door open. Inside was dust, broken crates, and old rebel tech. But most importantly, it was hidden. He set the pod gently on a soft cloth and stepped back, breathing hard. The pod hummed again. Lights blinked in soft rhythms. Inside the glass-like shell, the baby floated, connected to glowing threads that looked like roots. Her tiny body moved. A foot twitched. A hand opened slowly. Kai stared. She wasn't fully born, but she was alive. Half-formed, yet perfect. Are you even aware of me? He whispered, kneeling beside the pod. The pod glowed, faintly in answer. He remembered what the alien mother said. She chose you. Could that really be true? Kai was no hero. He fixed broken engines. He lived alone. But now a small alien life, possibly the last of her kind, depended on him. He opened his toolkit. No time for fear. He had to understand how the pod worked. Hours passed as Kai studied the device. He used a scanner, careful not to touch the wrong wires. It wasn't a womb in the way humans knew. It was a biocradle, mixing tech and life. It provided food, warmth, energy, even emotions, it seemed. When he whispered softly, the pod pulsed. In reply, she could hear him. She could feel him. But the readings worried him. The energy core was draining fast. Without the mother's connection, it was running on emergency life support. Kai bit his lip. If I don't figure out how to recharge this soon, you won't make it. He stared into the pod again. The baby opened her eyes for a moment. Golden, shining. Looking straight at him. He froze. Not because he was afraid, but because for 1 second it felt like she knew him. Like she recognized him. The pod beeped. Low power. Okay, he muttered, rising to his feet. Stay with me. He searched the warehouse, found old rebel equipment, fuel cells, a weak generator, scraps of fusion panels. He wired them together, feeding power slowly into the pod. It flickered, then steadied. She was safe, for now. Night came. Kai sat beside the pod, exhausted. Outside, the sky was quiet, but his mind was not. Who were the hunters? Why did they want her dead? He remembered the word the mother used. Keyline. What did it mean? He searched the old rebel database. Most files were locked or corrupted, but one still worked. An entry about royal keyline children, offspring of ancient alien houses, born once in 1,000 years, said to hold power beyond understanding, said to reshape entire bloodlines, weapons or miracles. He looked at the baby again. She was small, peaceful, sleeping. How could anyone want her destroyed? Kai clenched his fists. He didn't know where this would lead. He didn't know who would come next. But he did know one thing. She would not die. Not while he was still breathing. Far above, in a ship hidden among the clouds, masked figures watched a blinking red dot on their tracker. The pod has bonded, one of them said coldly. Another nodded. Prepare to descend, kill the human, retrieve the child. The Empire must not know she lives. The night was quiet, but Kai Ren couldn't sleep. The warehouse was dark except for the soft glow of the alien baby's pod. It gave off a warm, pulsing light, like a heartbeat. Kai sat beside her, holding a plasma rifle he hadn't used in years. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from something deeper. He was being hunted. Outside, beyond the broken windows and metal doors, something moved in the darkness. Leaves shifted without wind. Dust trembled on the floor. They were close. He had seen them before, tall alien shapes wrapped in black armor with glowing red eyes and no voices. They were not bounty hunters, not rebels. They were something worse. Collectors. Kai had read about them in the old resistance files. Silent agents of dying empires sent to erase mistakes. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't explain. If the baby girl was truly a keyline heir, they would burn entire worlds to erase her. He looked at the pod again. She was still sleeping. Safe. Innocent. He didn't even know her name. Yet he would die for her. Suddenly, the front wall exploded. A shockwave tore through the warehouse, throwing Kai backward. Sparks rained from above. Through the dust walked two collectors, tall, deadly, and calm. Their weapons didn't glow. They didn't need to. Their presence alone filled the air with terror. Kai rolled behind an old crate, heart pounding. "This is your last warning," a voice echoed. Cold, mechanical, not human. "Surrender the child. You do not understand what she is." Kai didn't reply. He aimed and fired. The first shot hit armor, but barely scratched it. One of the collectors turned and fired back, a silent beam that burned through metal like paper. Kai ducked, breathing hard. They weren't here to talk. They were here to erase. The baby cried, just one soft sound from the pod. But it changed everything. The ground trembled. Machines in the warehouse flickered to life. Loose scrap metal shook and floated. The very walls pulsed with a strange hum, responding to her voice. The baby's energy was leaking into the world. Kai stared in shock. She's activating everything. The collectors hesitated. One of them stepped back, raising a shield. The other tried to override the pod signal, but the pod fought back. The baby girl wasn't helpless. She was defending herself. And Kai, he used the moment. He jumped from cover and fired again, this time hitting a power box near the ceiling. Sparks fell. Flames erupted. One collector's cloak caught fire. It screamed, a metallic, angry sound, as Kai grabbed the pod and ran. He sprinted through the back of the warehouse, kicking down an old vent cover. The baby's pod rested against his chest, warm but flickering. The drain on her life support was growing. Her power was not meant for war. It was meant for life. And she was still too small to control it. "I'm sorry," Kai whispered. "I should have been faster." Behind him, the warehouse shook. The collectors were not giving up, but neither was he. He reached a hidden shaft and climbed out into the cold night air. The stars above looked sharp and silver. Somewhere out there, maybe, someone cared that this baby lived. But for now, only Kai did. He ran toward an old tunnel, an escape route used by rebels long ago. As he moved, the pod in his arms pulsed again. The baby opened her eyes briefly, golden, glowing. She looked up at him like she knew him, like she trusted him. Kai felt something burn in his chest. He wasn't her father, but maybe, just maybe, he could be. Behind them, the collectors screamed, in frustration. The signal was gone. The child had escaped again. One of them knelt, touching the ground where Kai had stood. "The human has formed a bond," the voice said. "We must kill him soon." The other collector turned to the stars. "Before the girl remembers who she is." The night swallowed him whole as Kai disappeared into the old tunnel, his breath ragged, arms tight around the glowing pod. His legs burned. His heart raced. The collectors were behind him, somewhere in the black, searching. But ahead, only silence. The tunnel was an old rebel escape route, long abandoned. The walls were cracked and wet, lined with faded lights and rusted signs in forgotten languages. Dust fell from above with every step, and the floor was uneven, covered in years of ash and broken wire. But Kai didn't stop. Not until he reached the metal door at the end. He pressed his hand against it. Come on. Still work. The scanner buzzed. Then, a soft click. The door hissed open, revealing a hidden chamber glowing with dim blue lights. Inside were old crates, damaged beds, and broken machines. But it was safe. For now. Kai stepped inside and shut the door behind him. He dropped to his knees and gently set the pod on a blanket. The baby was still, eyes closed, her skin pale. The pod flickered, weak, unstable. She was dying. Panic filled his chest. He scrambled through crates, throwing aside broken wires and cracked batteries. Then, at the bottom of an old toolbox, he found it, a medical unit, still intact. He pulled it out, connected it to the pod, and prayed it would work. A low hum. The pod glowed brighter. The baby stirred, her hand twitching. Kai let out a long breath. Hang in there. Just a little longer. Hours passed. Kai barely moved. He sat beside her, staring at her through the pod's clear shell. She looked stronger now. Her skin had color. Her chest moved gently, but her power was unstable. She had used too much when the collectors attacked. She needed time. Time he might not have. He stood up and explored the chamber more carefully. On the far wall he found something, an old screen. It blinked to life when he touched it. A voice spoke. Welcome to Sanctuary 47. Last registered occupant, Dr. Mila Voss. Kai's eyes widened. He knew that name. She had been a biosynth medic during the war, famous for helping alien refugees. A genius and a ghost. No one had seen her in years. Kai tapped further, unlocking old medical logs. Suddenly the screen showed holograms, alien infants, in strange pods like the one he carried. Blueprints, growth charts, notes in multiple languages. This place wasn't just a bunker, it was a nursery, a secret place built to protect alien children during the last war. Maybe, just maybe, it could save her too. He returned to the pod, connected wires from the old systems into the cradle's ports. The lights grew steadier. The baby moved again, her tiny fingers pressing softly against the shell. Kai touched the glass gently. You're stronger than you look, little one. The pod blinked once, almost like a thank you. Then a sound. Footsteps. Kai froze. He grabbed his rifle and stood near the pod, every muscle tense. But it wasn't a collector. A figure stepped from the shadows. An older woman, tall, cloaked, her face hidden beneath a dusty hood. She held no weapon, only a scanner. Kai raised his gun. Who are you? The woman didn't flinch. I could ask you the same, but since you're holding a keyline infant, I already know. Kai's eyes narrowed. You know what she is? The woman lowered her hood. She was human, but her eyes were silver. Cybernetic. Wise. I'm Mila Voss, she said quietly. And that child is more important than you can imagine. Kai felt his breath catch. The mother, she asked me to save her. I don't know what to do. She's not stable. Mila walked forward, scanning the pod. Her eyes softened. She bonded with you, that's rare. I didn't choose this. But she did, Mila said. And now you're part of her story. Mila helped connect the baby to old life support systems. As the room filled with soft humming sounds, Kai watched her work. For the first time in days, he felt hope. The baby opened her eyes once more. Gold. Bright. She looked between Kai and Mila, then closed them again peacefully. She'll live, Mila said, if we can keep her hidden long enough. Kai nodded, but worry crept back in. They're coming. The collectors. I barely escaped. Mila turned to him, her face calm. Then we don't run anymore, she said. We make them regret ever chasing her. For the first time since the crash, the air in the underground chamber felt calm. The soft hum of old machines filled the room, and warm lights from the life support system glowed around the pod. The baby girl inside, tiny, silver-skinned and strange, rested quietly. But Kai Ren couldn't rest. He sat nearby, watching her with wide, tired eyes. Every few minutes the pod blinked softly, showing signs of life, small movements, breathing, even dreams. He didn't know what alien babies dreamt about, but he hoped they were peaceful. Dr. Mila Voss moved silently in the background, checking data from the old med station. Her face was calm but serious. Her silver eyes scanned the holograms flickering above her. "She's stabilizing," Mila said at last. "But her energy field is unusual, too advanced, too wild." Kai looked up. "Is that bad?" Mila turned to him. "It's dangerous, for her and for you." Suddenly the pod pulsed brighter. The machines beeped. Kai rushed to her side, heart racing. The glass shimmered, and the baby's golden eyes opened again. This time wider, brighter. She didn't look like a newborn anymore. She looked aware, and then the glass melted away. Not shattered, not cracked. It simply vanished into mist. The baby reached out. Her hand touched Kai's. His breath caught. He felt a sudden warmth shoot through his body. Not pain, but something else. A connection. Images flashed in his mind. Stars, broken cities, a woman's soft voice calling a name. Lyra. The baby was speaking to him. Not with words, but with her mind. "She's forming the bond," Mila whispered. "It's rare, but possible. You're the only family she knows now." Kai slowly picked her up. She was light, fragile, but when he held her close, the warmth grew stronger. The glow in her eyes softened. "She's not just a baby, is she?" Kai asked. "No," Mila said gently. "She's keyline blood, royal, engineered to carry the memories and power of her ancestors. But she was born too early. Her body is small, but her mind, her energy, is far beyond her age." Kai looked down at Lyra, now sleeping again in his arms. She's a child with a galaxy on her shoulders. Later that night, while Mila worked to hide the child's energy signature, Kai sat in silence, watching Lyra sleep. Her tiny fingers curled against his chest. The chamber lights dimmed, and then she cried, a small, sharp cry, but powerful. The machine sparked, a pipe on the ceiling burst. Light panels flickered like fireflies. Kai held her tighter, whispering to calm her. "It's okay. I'm here. I won't let anyone take you." Her glow dimmed. The room quieted, but something had changed. Outside the sanctuary, far above, the sky twisted with clouds. On a nearby ridge, a collector stood in silence, watching the ground. "The child has awakened," it said through its helmet. "She is forming a bond." Another voice responded through the comms. "Then we are out of time. Begin the purge." Back. In the chamber, Mila turned to Kai. "They've found us again." Kai stood slowly, baby in his arms, then let them come. This time he wasn't running. This time, he was ready. The underground chamber shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Cracks split the old walls. Somewhere above, the enemy had arrived, and they weren't hiding anymore. The collectors were coming, straight down, smashing through rock and steel like it was nothing. Kai Ren stood at the center of the room, rifle slung across his back, baby Lyra cradled in one arm, his other hand resting on the edge of her old pod. The soft golden glow from her body had dimmed, but he could feel her heart beat through his chest. Fast, strong, alive. He looked at Dr. Mila Voss. She was calm, typing on an ancient terminal, her silver eyes glowing with focus. "I've activated the defense grid," she said, "but it won't hold them long." Kai nodded. "Then we make them bleed." Mila smiled faintly. "You're a mechanic, Kai, not a soldier." "Not anymore," he replied. "Now I'm her father." The walls began to pulse with warning lights. The old rebel base's sensors showed 3 heat signatures. Collectors, fully armed, descending fast through the tunnel. They weren't coming to capture Lyra. They were coming to erase her from existence. Kai gently handed Lyra back to Mila, wrapping her in a thick cloth. "Keep her safe." Mila nodded. "And don't die." Kai didn't answer. He pulled his old plasma rifle off his back, checked the charge, and turned toward the steel doors. This wasn't just about running anymore. This was about protecting something precious, something he didn't even know he needed until now. The door exploded inward. The first collector stepped through, silent and sharp. Its red visor scanned the room instantly. Before it could raise its weapon, Kai fired. The shot hit its chest, sparking against armor, and pushed it back. Not dead, but slowed. The second one moved faster, sliding in from the side, weapon raised. Kai dove behind a console, rolling, firing again. This time he hit a pipe above the invader. Steam burst out, hissing, covering the room in hot fog. Screams echoed through the haze, one mechanical, one human. But Kai didn't stop. He moved with purpose, each shot meant to delay, not win. Because the real fight wasn't his. Behind him, the air changed. Lyra had begun to glow again, brighter. Mila stood beside her, shielding her small body. The baby's eyes were open, but not crying this time. Focused, glowing like stars. Energy flowed from her body, soft, golden threads that reached across the room. Machines responded to her. Lights turned back on. Power flowed again through wires that had been dead for years. Then it happened. She screamed, not in fear, but in power. The last collector raised its blade to strike Kai, but it froze. Completely. Electric. Arcs wrapped around its limbs, forcing it to drop its weapon. The air turned golden, pulsing with energy, and the collector melted into sparks, consumed by a force none of them understood. Even Mila stepped back, shielding her face. When the light dimmed, silence returned. The chamber was still, only Lyra's. Soft breaths remained, and her tiny hand glowing gently as she reached toward Kai. He stepped closer, blood on his shirt, a bruise on his jaw, but his smile real. "You saved me," he whispered, picking her up again. "You saved us both." Mila looked at the scorched metal where the collectors had fallen. "Her power is growing. Soon others will come, worse than the collectors. You've made her a target, Kai." Kai looked at Lyra, who now rested quietly against his chest. "Then let them come," he said. "She's not alone anymore." In the far reaches of space, inside a quiet palace carved into a moon, an old alien queen sat upright in her chamber. A servant rushed in, frightened. "My queen. The keyline signal, it's been activated. A new heir lives." The queen closed her eyes and whispered one word. "Lyra." The fire had gone. The smoke had cleared. The underground chamber, once broken and full of fear, now stood still and quiet, marked with burn lines and silence. But in the middle of that silence, Kai Ren held the child close to his chest. Lyra. No longer just a baby, no longer just a promise. She had saved him, without knowing how. Her small golden hands had melted machines, turned death into dust, and changed his heart forever. He sat beside her, rocking her slowly. Her eyes were closed, again peaceful now. Her breathing was soft, her skin faintly glowing, warm like sunlight on snow. He touched her forehead gently. "You're safe now," he whispered. Dr. Mila Voss leaned against the wall nearby, her arms crossed, silver eyes scanning the damage. "You were lucky," she said quietly. "If she hadn't awakened fully, we'd both be dead." Kai nodded. "It wasn't luck." Mila looked at him. "Then what was it?" "Family," he said. Mila tilted her head. "You're not her blood." "No," Kai said, standing slowly, still holding the child. "But I'm her father. That's enough." Later that day, they buried the last of the destroyed collectors beneath the old rebel rock bed. Kai marked the spot, not as a warning, but as a promise. that anyone who came for her next would meet worse. He spent the evening preparing. New packs, new weapons. Lyra's pod had been rebuilt into a sling he could wear against his chest, her small body tucked safely inside. Mila gave him a map, one that led to an old outpost deep in the outer systems. There are others, she told him. People who once fought for peace. They'll help raise her, they'll keep her hidden and teach her who she is. Kai didn't look up from tightening the straps. She already knows who she is. Mila blinked. And who's that? Daughter. At dawn, Kai stood at the mouth of the tunnel, sunlight touching his face for the first time in days. Lyra blinked up at the sky, her golden eyes wide with wonder. She cooed softly, then smiled. Kai smiled back. She likes the sun. He said, she'll like more, Mila replied. Stars. Worlds. Stories. Maybe even peace. Kai adjusted the sling and turned away from the ruin behind them. He had entered that place as a stranger to her. Now he was her shield, her guide. Her father. Far away, among stars they had not yet reached, empires began to stir. Some feared the return of a keyline child, others hoped. And one day, Lyra's name would echo through galaxies. Some would call her threat, others, miracle. But for now, she was just a baby, sleeping in the arms of the man who would give everything to keep her alive.